Filmmakers, the radio show. We're outside the studio with filmmaker Jack Perez and screenwriter Ryan Levin of the film Some Guy Who Kills People. And we know we've heard from you, Jack. You're a huge proponent of film school, seems like, from various interviews. What do you think of people who are self-taught? Maybe they just go on sort of street smarts or instinct, and they don't actually go through the whole educational process of film school.
Yeah, film school, some people can't afford film school, and I think it's very difficult to teach people how to be talented. So if somebody has, the old expression is, if somebody hears the music, if somebody is has an instinct for film, whether they've started screwing around with camcorders when they were young or whatever, or in high school, then you don't necessarily have to go to film school to develop. But I think, as we were talking earlier, I think that there's an education period that is necessary, so at least you begin to experiment with the medium. And you can do that at home, but I think what you need to do is watch the great filmmakers. I mean, don't just watch the new releases. Go back and watch stuff in a variety of genres by the great filmmakers. Read the kind of books that you would get in film school, where filmmakers discuss their work and how they go about it. I remember reading a whole series, and I continue to read it, where it's just, I guess they call it the On series, but it's just a collection of interviews. It'll be like Scorsese on Scorsese, or Cronenberg on Cronenberg, or Mike Leigh on Mike Leigh, and they'll just go through, and it'll be collected interviews with these filmmakers going through their filmography, and they'll talk about many of the questions that you asked us. How did you do this? What were the challenges? Get an inside baseball sort of look at the business. Start looking at movies not as a viewer, but even through Netflix, watch a movie and try to determine why a particular scene is working for you. Why is this moment hitting me so hard? Is it how it was shot? Is it the lens that was used? Was it the camera move? Is it the type of lighting? Is it the way the scene was cut? Break it down into its sort of components, so that you can start to develop an understanding of how to create that in your own work. That's really what film school is, and make a lot of short films, implementing these things, trying these things, and and usually messing up. In my early shorts in film school, sucked, and it was only after a half a dozen attempts that I start to really begin to appreciate and find my own technique and what I liked and things that were working for me. And I think what film school does is it forces you to make a lot of movies and look at a lot of movies. But if you have the discipline to say, I can't afford it, but I'm going to read the books, I'm going to watch these movies. I'm not just going to go watch Transformers. I'm going to go watch these great films, and I'm going to shoot a lot of stuff and try these things. Then you can have your own film school. And then when you decide, okay, now that I've done that, maybe now I try a little bit of budget feature. I think the mistake is to just kind of I'm going to go make a feature, because usually it's too costly, and you don't want to make all the mistakes that you would make. You're going to make mistakes anyway in your first feature. Make them in the short film process, and then take what you learn into your first feature. So I think that's sort of my thinking, is that you don't have to do it formally, but you should create almost a program, like a training program, for yourself. It's like if you saw Rocky 3. Not that that's like anything you need to see, but it's like Clubber Lang, the Mr. T character, can't afford a posh gym. That Rocky Balboa being a rich heavyweight, so he's training using in alleys and stuff like that. It doesn't matter how you do it, but you need to go through the training process for yourself, so that when you enter the ring, you're in the best shape possible.
Okay, I'm curious too. What's the biggest misconception, positive or negative, that people have about this business? This is for both of you. Biggest surprise that you've learned?
Wow. I think most people are aware enough, most people in this who've been in LA or New York, trying their hand at this business in whatever capacity for a certain amount of time, have learned the realities. I don't think, if you've been here or New York or wherever long enough, the truth has smacked you across the face, and you've either stuck with it or you've bailed. The people that are just getting into it, those are the ones I think with the misconceptions, and I think that those misconceptions are basically that if what I'm doing, if I'm a good actor, or if I'm a good writer, or I'm a good director, then success will find me quickly. Quickly being the operative word. Or that, one good script, play, movie, whatever, is good enough, and then I can relax. Whereas the reality is, it doesn't ever end. It's always, what's next, what's next, what's next. And there's obviously very few people, there's a very select group of people in any of the fields who, whether financially or artistically, can take the time to not have to worry about the next thing. But I know plenty of people who financially would be able to take their time off if they wanted it, but they also are so, part of it's reality and part of it's paranoia, that if to take that time off would mean taking themselves out of the game, and to come back would be, they would have missed the boat on certain opportunities, they'd be old news, and there is a kind of truth to that. I mean, you kind of strike while the iron's hot, but you gotta keep striking, and you gotta put out enough. You gotta put out 10, 20, 30, I mean, I'm just throwing out numbers, but you gotta put out enough material, put out enough work, enough widgets to find the one that will then help you get to the next one. But getting the next one might not be any easier than getting the first one. So I think the biggest misconception is, all I need to do is land this thing, or sell this thing, or make one quality product, and I'm good to go. Whereas it's again, it's a marathon. It's a long. This is a career, and it's a long-term investment, which means that one successful project, whether it's successful because you sold it or it's successful because you think it's great, doesn't guarantee anything for the future. So from there, it's just a matter of saying, okay, well, I need to keep going. This is where the sort of non 9-to-5 aspect of the career can easily slip into it just taking over your life, because there is that essence of element of, I can always be doing something. Some people are you guys had Ty West on, and when Ty West said he wrote a script in 3 or 4 days, I wanted to leap through the radio and throttle him. And then he says, yeah, and then I just take the rest of the time off. And I'm like, I wanted to throttle him, because not only he's making these movies, and some, I'm seeing some of them, and I really like some of them, and I don't care for some of them, but he's actually getting them all made. He's writing them in 3 or 4 days, and in between, I don't know what he's doing. That is an aberration.
Yeah,
that is not an example of how things work.
No.
So if anybody who believes that, then I think there are probably people who believe that.
Your bubble's gonna burst really quick.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go.
No. I was talking to a a screenwriter, a very, very young screenwriter, who has already written like 4 screenplays, and you see the progression of they've gotten better, but he still thinks that he's blown away by the fact that they haven't sold. He's blown away by the fact that that he has to do, that somebody could read it and have notes for him. He's blown away by the fact that more work might need to be done on that, or that because it's good, it's not selling, and that to me, it's not a 1-to-1 ratio.
Yeah.
So once people understand that, and they understand that you got to be in it for the long haul, I think then you can kind of start to settle in a little bit more, and obviously you'll still have those concerns, but you know, once that reality sets in, you go, okay, well then, you know, I need to put in a lot to get maybe just a little bit out of it, but the more you do that, you know, the longer career you have.